The shuttle smelled like metal, ozone, and quiet fear. Lieutenant Mara Voss leaned back in the acceleration chair, staring out at the black velvet of space through a reinforced viewport. The ship cut through orbit above Gliese 581G, the so-called silent sphere. No one said it aloud, but she knew why the aliens brought her here. No contact. No distress signals. Just silence, and then an invitation sent to Earth: send one of yours. We'll pay anything. She was the one they sent. The intercom hissed. Docking in 30 seconds, Commander Voss. Lieutenant, she corrected, not bothering to raise her voice. They kept giving her promotions she refused. If Command wanted a war hero, they could find someone who liked medals. The alien station loomed ahead, a geometric cluster of rotating arms and flickering green shields. It looked like it had been designed by beings who feared curves. Cold. Efficient. Soulless. The docking clamps hissed. Her boots hit the floor of platform G7 with a satisfying thud. Waiting for her were 5 species: insectoid, amphibian, crystalline, and 2 variations of tall bipedals with too many joints. They stood in nervous symmetry, wearing ceremonial robes and armor that looked unused. Human Mara Voss, said the tall delegate with a translucent skull. The Council is grateful you accepted. Let's skip the gratitude, she said, shouldering her pack. You called me to clean up a mess. Where's the battlefield? They exchanged glances. The crystalline one pulsed blue, distress. There is no battlefield. Yet. But it's coming. And we are unprepared. They led her through narrow, pulsating corridors toward the war room, a spherical chamber lined with holograms of dead planets. Entire colonies, blinking red. Missing fleets. Static where comms used to be. This is what we face, said the amphibian general. The overentity Zerafuan. It absorbs everything. It learns. Mimics. Adapts. So does every decent enemy, Mara said flatly. No, the crystalline pulsed. This one copies your memories. Predicts your moves. Turns logic into a trap. And you want me to teach you how to beat it? More than that. We want to become like humans. Your unpredictability, it cannot replicate. You are the only anomaly. Mara exhaled, staring at the holomap. Entire sectors were being devoured. Not by fleets, by silence. And she saw it. The pattern. It wasn't random. They weren't being attacked. They were being tested. Pieces removed like a chessboard probe. Probing for weakness. She rubbed her temple. Fine. Give me the recruits. I'll see if any of them can learn. The training hall was bright, too clean. Artificial gravity hummed. 40 alien soldiers stood at attention, perfect posture, perfect silence. No smell of sweat. No nervous energy. Just expectation. She hated it instantly. Let's begin, Mara said. Today's lesson, chaos. No reaction. You don't fight like humans, she continued. You fight like software. Orders. Patterns. Predictable moves. The insectoid recruit raised a claw. Efficiency wins wars. Mara stepped forward, fast. Startling. She kicked over a supply crate. Tools scattered. You think that was efficient? No. But it worked. You all flinched. That's what chaos does. That's what we do. She pulled up footage from Earth's war archives, trench fights, guerrilla ambushes, reckless heroics. Men and women charging in hopeless situations, and surviving through sheer nerve, luck, and madness. This is what the overentity can't copy. Not yet. Not ever, if we do this right. The crystalline trainee blinked. These actions are illogical. The probability of success doesn't matter. Humans win because we don't always want to live. Sometimes we just want to win. Or hurt the thing trying to kill us. She saw them recoil, not physically, but in their posture, their silence. It was alien to them. So what if I die, as long as I take you with me? By the end of the day, 3 recruits had quit. One attempted to simulate human rage using adrenal triggers and short-circuit stimpaks. He collapsed mid-drill. Stop mimicking, Mara snapped. Start thinking. If you can't break the script, you're meat. They stared at her like she was fire. Not a teacher, a weapon. That night, she stood alone by the observation deck. Below, Gliese 581G spun slowly, lit by a distant star. Quiet. Empty. Her eyes narrowed. A distress beacon lit up on the hollow board, Moon Relay Kappa 12. A nearby outpost. Status, signal lost. Static followed. She called command. We just lost Kappa 12. No distress call. Just gone. The alien general hesitated. Could be an anomaly. Communications. It's not an anomaly. It's the entity. You cannot be certain. I am certain. This is how it works. It removes one piece. Watches what we do next. She turned slowly. And you're watching me. They didn't answer. Back in her quarters, Mara sat on the edge of the bunk, unlacing her boots. Her muscles ached, not from movement, from memory. She opened a small locker at the foot of her bed. Inside, a rusted dog tag. The last relic of her unit. Burned alive in a skirmish on Eris outpost when the enemy used their own battle tactics against them. Her tactics. Her fault. She hadn't come here to train anyone. She came to settle the score. The overhead lights dimmed. Power flickered. The station vibrated, subtle. A low thrum, almost too low to register. She stood. Computer, she said quietly. Status report. Structural integrity? The voice replied, all systems nominal. No breach detected. But she felt it. It was here. Not attacking. Listening. Final scene, end of chapter 1. In the war room, the alien council reconvened. Mara stood alone before them. Kappa 12 is gone. You're next. The amphibian commander croaked nervously. Should we alert the core systems? No, Mara said, cracking her knuckles. Let it come closer. The others exchanged uneasy glances. You don't understand, she said. It isn't trying to destroy us yet. Then, what? Mara's voice was ice. It's learning how to fight us. But first, it wants to understand what the hell we are. Training drills began at 0600. Mara Voss arrived an hour early, boots echoing in the hollow steel chamber that passed for a gym. The recruits were already there. Not because of motivation, because they'd been programmed to be early. It was just another box they thought needed ticking. She paced in front of them. Let's make one thing clear, she began, eyes sweeping the alien faces. I'm not here to teach you how to fight. You already know how to do that. Your problem is you fight like you expect to win. One recruit shifted, an angular amphibian named Tarlek. Is that not the objective? Mara dropped a pulse blade on the ground between them. It clattered sharply. The objective is to survive the impossible. Victory is a side effect. She activated the simulation room. Walls vanished, replaced with holographic terrain, dense jungle, thick with fog. Enemy signals appeared on the HUD, familiar, symmetrical, neat. Exactly what Zarathian would expect. Today, we rewrite the script. Hours later, sweat poured off Tarlek's elongated neck. Even the crystalline cadets had microfractures running through their joints. Mara watched them flounder. They couldn't think without orders. Couldn't react without reference. Again, she ordered. But this time, you don't get any tactics. No plan. No map. Just instincts. What instincts? Barked the insectoid Dresh. We do not have instincts like you. Then grow some, she snapped. She opened a weapons crate and threw a mixed pile of gear at their feet, outdated rifles, knives, improvised explosives, human relics. They hesitated. Tarlek reached down, picked up a machete. Held it backward. Mara didn't even blink. You're waiting for me to tell you how to use it. That's your problem. She turned to the wall panel and dimmed the simulation to pitch black. Nothing but noise. Screams. Footsteps. The sound of unseen enemies circling. The entity doesn't fight with rules. It learns yours and uses them against you. So what's the solution? Silence. She walked straight into the fog. I'll be one of the threats. Figure it out. They hesitated again. Then the lights blinked red, simulation override. The room exploded in chaos. Mara struck fast and dirty. Elbows. Knees. Low punches. Her boots connected with armor plates not designed for close combat. One of the crystalline recruits collapsed in confusion. The others scattered. A few tried to form formations, dumb mistake. She emerged from the mist, grabbed a plasma rifle, and fired just beside Tarlek's head. The shot missed intentionally, but the message didn't. Survive, she yelled. Not strategize. And something shifted. The amphibian turned and lunged without command, not cleanly, not precisely, but with desperation. It worked. She went down. He stood over her, blade trembling in one hand. Not pride. Not programming. Instinct. Afterward, the recruits slumped along the training walls, gasping, armor dented and scratched. Mara stood among them, arms crossed, eyes hard. You bled. You panicked. You broke formation. Good. Tarlek looked up, face contorted in confusion. But the exercise failed. Most were eliminated. That wasn't the point, she replied. You finally fought like you meant it. One of the tall bipedals raised a question. How do humans coordinate in such chaos? We don't coordinate, she answered. We adapt. That's what Zarathuan can't predict. Dresh chittered. It will still learn. It's a mimic. A parasite. Even human improvisation will eventually be copied. Mara hesitated. Then she said the one thing they hadn't considered. Not if we lie to it. Later that evening, she stood in the debriefing chamber, surrounded by glowing data panels and pulsing alien eyes. The recruits are progressing, she said. Too slowly, said the crystalline commander. Another outpost fell. 27 crew absorbed. They don't need to become soldiers, she answered. They need to become unpredictable. How? She tapped the glass. Let them break the rules. Let them customize. Paint their armor. Name their units. Train with weapons they don't understand. Let them improvise rituals. Belief. Rage. Humor. Emotion. You're suggesting we infect them with human culture? I'm suggesting you make them less like you. By day 6, things began to change. Tarlek smeared black stripes across his chest armor, unapproved but untouched. Dresh tied human bone charms, clearly synthetic, to her mandibles, whispering strange prayers before battle sims. Others scrawled nonsense slogans across their gear, chaos first. Burn the algorithm. Unwritten. They stopped looking for approval. It was working. During one drill, an alien squad faked a retreat and circled back through a blind spot Mara had programmed specifically to punish that exact maneuver. They won the scenario. She didn't smile. But she didn't stop them either. Later that day, an alert rang out across the command center. Unknown entity detected near orbit. The parasite had arrived. An outpost probe was drifting just outside sensor range. The engineers called it debris, but Mara recognized the signal. Fractured, organic, almost like breathing. She ordered the entire command staff to view the feed. The object rotated. On its hull, human graffiti. Crudely painted in red. Nice try. Mara's stomach dropped. Tarlek looked confused. That's ours? No, she whispered. That's it. The overentity had begun copying them. Poorly. That night, Mara activated a private recording. Her voice was lower, raw. Field log, Lieutenant Mara Voss. Subject, Zarathuan has entered mimicry phase. But it's imitating the image of humans. Not the soul. It paints our symbols, but it doesn't understand them. It's performing rage. We bleed it. It copies the stain. But it doesn't know why we fight. She leaned back, eyes narrowed. The recruits are starting to get it. Not because I taught them, but because they're starting to believe they might lose. That's when humanity is most dangerous, when it's cornered. Final scene, end of chapter 2. The command lights dimmed. Everyone assembled in the briefing dome. On the holomap, a swarm was coming. Dozens of biological ships, moving erratically. It's begun, one commander said. No, Mara said. She stepped forward, loading her rifle. Now the real class begins. The sky tore open like paper under flame. Zarathuan's swarm entered low orbit, hundreds of writhing, semi-organic vessels, each shaped like twisted reflections of Earth's past war machines. Human tanks fused with alien alloys. Jet black infantry drop pods modeled after human escape capsules. It was copying everything it had seen. But something was wrong. Mara could see it instantly. The parasite had the form, the shell, the shape, but none of the rhythm. Every movement was offbeat. It had mimicked the look of fearsome chaos but not the chaos itself. They look like us, Tarlek said beside her. No, Mara muttered. They look like what it thinks we are. She turned to her squad, no longer recruits. Armor mismatched, eyes wild with defiance, hand-modified weapons buzzing with unstable energy. They had names now. Personal signs. Habits. Fear. And they were ready. As the alien swarm descended, the battlefield lit up in streaks of violet and red. Static danced across the war room's monitors. Command shouted for formation. Mara ignored them. She stood at the front lines with her new soldiers. No trenches. No defense grid. Just wide open terrain and miles of wind-blown dust. Exactly the way she wanted it. Why here? Asked Dresh, gripping her scatterblade. Because this terrain makes no sense, Mara replied. Flat, exposed, idiotic to fight on. That's the strategy? No, she said. That's the bait. The swarm's first wave hit like a tidal surge, fast, direct, efficient. Predictable. And then Mara's team exploded into movement. Not one of her units followed standard military patterns. One charged alone screaming nonsense in an alien dialect he made up the night before. Another double-backed into their own lines before ambushing from behind. A squad buried themselves chest-deep in sand and attacked with improvised fireworks. The parasite didn't adjust. It hesitated. Every time it tried to counter, the battlefield got dumber. And that was the genius of it. Inside the command tower, the alien council watched in stunned silence. This is not war, muttered the crystalline delegate. This is theater. No, corrected the amphibian. This is madness. The bipedal general leaned forward. This might be working. Mara ducked behind a rock, slamming a charge into a makeshift launcher. Her hands were bleeding from the grit, but her smile never faded. She keyed into the secure comms. Tarlek. Tell me you're still alive. Breathing, he grunted, followed by the sound of an explosion. Improvised trip mine worked. Burn one of the copies. It screamed, in English. Mara's smile dropped. Say that again. It spoke your language. A broken version. Said you are predictable. She stood, heart racing. That's not mimicry. That's interrogation. She sprinted toward the closest down pod and tore open the husk with a magnetic cutter. Inside was a writhing figure, a malformed human simulacrum. Its eyes blinked out of sync. Its mouth moved in eerie approximation of laughter. You improvise, but within boundaries. Boundaries can be mapped. And broken. Mara raised her rifle and fired a full burst into its skull. Not out of rage. Out of certainty. It's still guessing, she said aloud. Still playing catch-up. Back on the field, her forces began losing cohesion. One squad went dark. Another panicked under a telepathic hallucination broadcast by the swarm. The parasite was adapting faster now, copying unpredictability, rewriting chaos into calculated madness. She couldn't outfight it. Not anymore. But maybe. She could outbreak it. Everyone, she barked into comms, change your squad designations. Right now. Rename yourselves after lies. Say random numbers. Trade armor. Start misfiring into the air. Confuse me if you have to. But we'll lose coordination, one of them shouted. Exactly. They obeyed. 10 seconds later, the battlefield was unreadable. And the swarm hesitated again. The parasite had no clear pattern. No map. No center of command to target. Every enemy seemed to make decisions independent of logic. Because they were. Then Mara gave the final order. Charge. Full advance. No cover. No strategy. They ran like lunatics into the maw of hell. The parasite struck back with overwhelming force, but its shots missed more often than they landed. It tried to predict dodges that never happened. Anticipate formations that never formed. It collapsed into hesitation, overanalysis. And in that moment of hesitation, humanity struck true. Tarlek impaled a parasite copy through its mimic core. Dresh detonated her own armor in a suicidal blast, killing 5 more. Mara herself fired a homemade ion charge directly into the sky, igniting a chain reaction that fried the neural network of the nearest control node. The swarm began eating itself, turning on the false patterns, confused by its own simulations. In seconds, they weren't fighting a coordinated enemy. They were tearing through a hallucinating ghost. When it ended, the field was quiet. Smoke rose in odd colors. The few surviving parasite drones twitched, trying to make sense of commands that no longer existed. Mara walked through the carnage, helmet under her arm. Around her, aliens rose from the dust, scratched, burned, exhausted, but victorious. She looked up at the council shuttle landing nearby. The bipedal ambassador stepped out slowly. Lieutenant Voss, we are in your debt. She didn't answer. He tried again. Tell us, what are humans best at? Mara's eyes scanned the battlefield. Losing, she said. We're best at losing. Over and over. And still getting up. Still hitting back. Still laughing in the face of annihilation. She looked directly at him. You wanted to become us? Then bleed. Doubt. Hurt. Hope. We win not because we're strong. We win because we're too damn stupid to know when to quit. Final scene. That night, alone, Mara opened her personal log. Field report. Zarathuan has been defeated, for now. It couldn't replicate us because it thought we were just tactics and flesh. But humans are more than that. We're mistakes wrapped in persistence. You can't simulate heart. She paused. Let it come back. Next time, we'll teach it poetry. She closed the file. And smiled. 2 weeks after the battle, the silence was deafening. No alarms. No screams. No swarm. Just a quiet station orbiting a scarred world. Lieutenant Mara Voss stood on the observation deck, arms folded, staring out at the fractured shell of Gliese 581G. Once a classified war zone, now a graveyard. Not just of the parasite, but of certainty. Behind her, footsteps echoed. Permission to speak freely? Tarlek asked, his voice calmer than before. Changed. You already are, she said without turning. I don't know who I am anymore. Now she turned. He stood tall, armor stripped of insignia, skin scarred from a dozen burns he never would have accepted before. He looked less like a soldier. More like a survivor. That's a good start, she said. The council held a debriefing later that evening. It felt more like a tribunal. Ambassadors sat in high-backed chairs above her. Alien faces, polished voices. They all wore the same expression, discomfort cloaked in diplomacy. The parasite, said the crystalline delegate, has gone dormant. At least, we believe so. It's never dormant, Mara replied. It's just listening. The council shifted. We must prepare for retaliation, the amphibian stated. Now that it has seen what humanity can do, it will rewrite itself. Build something worse. It can try, Mara said simply. The bipedal general leaned forward. We propose an initiative. A joint force division trained under your methods. Multi-species units, chaos-based combat theory, unrestricted tactical autonomy. You will lead it. No. The chamber went silent. Mara took a breath. I'll design the program. I'll even write the manual. But I don't lead cults. Later that night, she sat alone in the armory. She stared at her old gear. Scarred helmet. Blades worn to the hilt. A patch sewn into the jacket's sleeve, VX-93, her original unit, lost, burned alive, still shouting in her dreams. Footsteps approached again. This time slower. Familiar. Dresch entered, arm still healing, body stiff from shrapnel. You really won't command them? She asked. No, Mara replied. They're not mine to command anymore. They're something new. You think they're ready for what's coming? They'll never be ready. That's the point. Readiness is a lie. It makes you think you understand the threat. Dresch nodded. Then what do? We confuse the threat. She initiated what would become known as the Echo Protocol. Every trainee, every future soldier under the joint program, would undergo strategic disorder conditioning. No standard uniforms. No codified ranks beyond necessity. Missions structured like jazz, not orchestra. Improvised hierarchies. Disinformation within their own units to prevent easy data mapping. No one would be predictable. Not even to each other. That was the gift Zarathuan gave them, the realization that patternless behavior wasn't a weakness. It was the only viable shield. A month later, the first Echo teams deployed to a remote sector in the Zarn Expanse. A mining outpost had gone silent. Again. Too soon. The footage returned showed nothing at first. Then flickering lights. Then fragments of voice logs. It's back, the Echo commander whispered through the static. But it's different now. It speaks in riddles. Sends fake distress calls using our own voices. It's playing with us. Like it's enjoying the game. Mara watched the transmission. She didn't flinch. By now, she'd moved to an isolated relay post between sectors. No medals. No title. Just coordinates in a mission. One night, she received a private encrypted message. No signature. The file played automatically. A shaky recording of a soldier in a burning hallway. Blood. Screams. The soldier looked up at the camera. It was her. Or something wearing her face. It smiled. Humanity. Best what? Then static. She sat still. The next morning, she sent a single message to Echo Command. It's learning faster now. Not just what we do, but what we fear. We train chaos, it trains silence. We act out of instinct, it manufactures doubt. From now on, no two Echo teams will receive the same training. Not the same instructors. Not the same data. Confusion must become standard. Paranoia must become protection. Tell them, don't trust patterns. Don't trust memory. Don't even trust me. She shut off the transmission. Then deleted her own image files from every central archive. She became a ghost. The council searched. So did the Joint Division. But Mara Voss stopped appearing in any official records. No logs. No sightings. Only rumors. A rogue shuttle seen near silent systems. A voice whispering tactics into unmarked comms. No proof. No trail. But Echo soldiers carried her teachings like scripture. Every field manual ended with the same line. Asterisk if it starts making sense. You're already being watched. Asterisk. Final scene. A distant world. Unknown system. 3 suns in the sky. A derelict ship rests on the surface, half sunk in sand. Inside, a figure in patchwork armor sits alone beside a flickering console. The figure presses a button. A message begins to record. Field report, Lieutenant Voss. It's still out there. I've seen what it's become. It doesn't want to win anymore. It wants to understand. And maybe that's worse. A pause. Then her voice hardens. Tell the next wave to remember this. We're not the strongest. We're not the smartest. We're not even the most united. But we're the most stubborn. And if it wants to break us, it better be ready to bleed. She ends the recording and vanishes into the dust.